Hi, we're back. Happy Wednesday. I'm with my coffee. I've got a little cookie moment here. We're doing a summer book list today, but I wanted to make a short little announcement. I've officially started my Substack. So some of you that follow me on Instagram would have seen that already, that I launched my Substack. It's just gonna function as my Patreon tried to do like a while ago. I failed at it. I know I failed at it, and I'm an Aries, so I only fail at things once, and even that it's hard for me, but definitely not twice. So oh, there's this like very stylish person that works at a coffee shop that we love to go to. I love the way he dresses, and I just saw him walking across the street. The Substack will just be like another archive of extra videos, because this kind of platform, and this kind of way of filming just made everything so much easier for me. And so I film more. I want to talk more spontaneously about things. So YouTube is not going anywhere. Like, there will always be these videos for free. That's just like another way that you can support if you want to support me, my channel, and like that leads to me supporting myself and my own artistic practices and just being a young person, um, like trying to make a living, you know what I mean? So if you want, you can go subscribe there. There's already a video up. And it'll just be like extra things that are exclusive to that platform. So I totally understand if you don't want to do that, or you don't want to add like one more thing to your list of subscriptions that you have going on. I totally get it. But if you do, it's downstairs, the link, so you can go there. And I obviously thank you so much if you choose to. The video that's up there now is about books that I love to read, like books that I want to read for summer. But I also wanted to put together a video on here about books that I have already read that I would recommend as a summer list. Summer book list videos are starting to come out. I really enjoyed Sophie's video. So I'll link that downstairs if you didn't watch it. Great recs for reading in general of any time of year, but summer, and like I really liked the way that she curated that list. Yeah, so I'm sure we're gonna get great lists coming out soon. So I'm sure that some books in this video are gonna overlap with other people's lists. Now, here's the thing. I struggle to put together list videos because I feel like I don't really have like new books to share with you that most of you don't know about. I mean, that's me, I guess, thinking about like a bulk of my audience being reader friends of mine online who I know are already familiar with like this whole list of books. But I guess like for sure, there are many people here as well that don't, that maybe have not heard of any of these books. So I should trust that and enjoy to give recommendations anyway. But I struggle with putting these kinds of videos together because I think like I'm just like, Ben, like everybody already spoke about these books. Like, what are you offering that's new or different? Maybe just a few of my own thoughts on them, but even that, they're messy. Okay, where's my phone? Because the list is there. As I was looking at these books, I realized that like a lot of them are quite depressing or deal with depression or deal with heavy subject matter. I like touched on it a little bit in the Substack video about like my anxieties and feelings over the summer season generally in my life, and that kind of reflects into my reading. Like, yeah, so like I would not say this is the list for people who want like really light-hearted, like easy books that are, I don't know, like light in subject matter for like the summer season. You might want to click on somebody else's video for that because I just in general like don't read a lot of those kinds of books. Here's this stylish man again. So I kind of organized them into fiction and nonfiction. So I'll start with the fiction first. I have two Deborah Levy's on this list. I think because I've read a lot of Deborah Levy like in summertime or on holiday, so I feel like she is linked to me with the summer season. So the first book I wrote is Swimming Home, about a family who goes to the French Riviera and they rent like a big villa for summer. So by setting, it's very summery. And then there's like this unknown naked woman named Kitty swimming in the pool. So like obviously amazing. What more do you want than like mysterious naked women floating in your pool when you show up on a family vacay? Kind of about like how she sort of shatters this family dynamic and like creates cracks. And this book deals a lot with depression. Like it's really about depression and like generational depression as well. So yeah, but it's like it's very cinematic to me. It's quite unnerving. I like books with tense atmosphere. Um, so this one is really good. It's also short. You'll get a lot of short books on this list because I like short books. Even in summer, even more in summer, my attention span cannot handle long things. I get that people want to like sink their teeth into like really long novels and like stories and maybe like worlds. The other Deborah Levy is one that I actually haven't finished yet because I'm reading it now, which is The Man Who Saw Everything. Turn off the notifications. How many times have we been here? The Man Who Saw Everything is the book that I'm reading now. It's raining outside and I'm looking at the people struggling that don't have an umbrella and they're putting all the objects they can find above their head and running. This book follows our main character whose name is Saul. He's been invited by Communist East Berlin to come and write a research paper that is like favorable to the German Democratic Republic. Saul and his girlfriend who are breaking up, and it starts with her taking a photograph of him in London that replicates the Abbey Road photo of the Beatles on the album cover when he's crossing the zebra stripes. And in doing this, in preparing for this photograph, Saul gets almost hit by a car. Or hit by a car, or not, or it's unclear. And from that point on, the book takes off. Like, that's really in the beginning. And things are, like, not right in this book. Perceptions are all blurred and weird. People, like, for example, would go into a woman's apartment and say, like, your phone rang, someone called. And she's like, I don't have a phone. Or, like, the phone is disconnected. Or he looks outside and it's sunny, but someone says, like, oh, my body aches when it rains. So, like, the perception of things are off. And we can't really tell what's going on, but it's super intriguing. And I know this book at some point like flips on its head or something at the end. So I'm really enjoying this so far. I'm sucked into it, and I think it would be great as well on this list. Then we have The Lost Daughter by Elena Ferrante, which is like, for me, a perfect kind of story to read during the summer. Like a Ferrante book is sort of summer required reading. I feel like a lot of people read the seasonal quartet, not the seasonal quartet, the Neapolitan quartet. And The Lost Daughter is about a woman who is an academic, and at one point in her life, she's left her two daughters to focus on her work and to have an affair with another man. And she goes on, so the present novel is taking place on a beach, a beach town, and she is there kind of like on vacation, but also like researching while she's there. And she becomes like entangled with this big Italian family from Naples that like also shows up in this town, and specifically a young mother with her young child, and it kind of like splinters her into the hardships and memory of her own experience being a mother. It was made into a film. It's absolutely beautiful. It was a great adaptation, best film book adaptation I've seen, directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal. And yeah, like it's a really like a perfect novel. I've said this before in the past when I read this like a few years ago. I think I confidently said like there's not a flaw in this novel for me. Like for me this is the perfect small novella. So I highly urge you to read it if you haven't already. I know a lot of people have. Now we have three little books, tiny books. The first one is The Mayor of Leipzig by Rachel Kushner. This is a tiny book, I feel like even less than 70 pages. And it follows a artist living in New York who travels to Cologne in Germany and then also to Leipzig. And she's like, this book is kind of gossipy. The book itself is very beautiful. It's like a pink fabric covered hardcover book. It's like a beautiful object to have. Kind of reads almost like a children's story. And yeah, I won't say too much about it because it's small and short, and there's kind of like a event that happens in the end that I don't want to spoil. But yeah, that's as much as I'll say about it. Like, she travels around, meets all these people from the art world, and yeah, it's just a great little book that takes like a razor sharp look into that world, into the art world. Another little tiny is In the Act by Rachel Ingalls. This book I read it in the New Directions storybook version. So also hardcover, really beautiful, tiny, reads like a storybook. And this is a weird, strange book about a married couple. You're following the wife's perspective, and her husband has like a laboratory in the attic where he is inventing things and working on things, and he is very adamant about keeping it from her. Like, it's locked, she doesn't enter, and she normally spends time outside of the home, and when she decides that she's not going to spend as much time outside of the home, it like really creates a problem for him. He like doesn't want her around. And she starts to get suspicious about what the fuck's going on in this lab in the attic, and why it takes so much of his time, and why he's so obsessed with it, and why he's so secretive. And she finds another key, and she opens it, and she goes inside, and she sees what he's inventing. And I won't spoil it for you, but it goes like wacky, crazy, wild, unhinged in the end. Really great, fun, crazy little book that I think is a great summer read when you just need like, yeah, a little short story. And the last tiny is, I've been talking about it a lot lately, The Employees by Olga Raun. I love this book, translated by Martin Aitken from the Danish. I won't like go into it too much because I feel like I'm a broken record, but you're following statements of employees that are on this, are you all right? On this spacecraft, and some of them are human and some of them are humanoid, and you get the clash between that, like, who is superior, what kind of intelligence is superior, like an AI or a human brain, and like a human relationship to objects, and what these found objects are doing to the employees and how they affect the way that they work and how productive they are, and also like that they create in the humans specifically like a lot of nostalgia for like the world prior to this spacecraft, that of course the humanoids don't have a relationship to these objects in that way. It's written so well, so like the amount of things I've underlined in here, it will creep up on you in a really emotional way. At least that's what happened to me. Like a look at like what is humanity and what does it mean to be human. Yeah, it's just great. Like looks at productivity and like things that I don't know where, you know, that are very relevant for our world. And it's also like slightly erotic. Like the writing is so delicious and strange and like very sensory. Yeah, it's really, really good. I'm including here the Outline Trilogy by Rachel Cusk, because I've read all of those books on holiday. And like the Outline Trilogy for me is tied to being in Greece and reading that trilogy like in different trips that I've taken in the past. So it's a very vacation read for me because that's how it met my reading life. But also the first book, Outline, you're following the main character as she is going from urban London to Athens in Greece, to teach a writing workshop. So she's on a boat as well there. So like there is something very summary about the whole context, and the situation that our main character Faye is in. The other two books, the second one, Transit, is more urban, like more located in London or in England. And then the last one, Kudos, also goes to like a very, very hot, unnamed European or Eastern European country. I don't really know. I wonder where people think that book is taking place mostly. Like, where is the literary conference that she goes to? I thought Spain, but I wasn't sure. Let me know if you've read it and where you think that takes place. But yeah, this trilogy as a whole, I mean, absolutely like on the top tier for me, of books like of all time. Like I'm a huge fan of that trilogy. That trilogy like changed my reading taste and just like it just like formed me as a reader. So I have a list of some nonfiction. So we go back to Deborah Levy, Real Estate. It's the last book in her living autobiography trilogy, unless she is going to come out with more, which could be possible. But yeah, it's the third one. It's about it's her experience in her later life where her kids have left the home and she is grappling with this idea of the home, the place in which you put yourself in and settle down in and make for yourself, and this like real estate that she kind of imagines, like what is her imaginary real estate as she kind of takes a log of her life, like where now in her like 60s, I think, like where does she want to find herself in that time in her life. And it's really great. And I also read that in summer in Greece. It also takes place like in different places, Greece being one of them. So it's lovely. It's like probably my favorite in that trilogy. And you don't need to read them consecutively or anything. You can just pick up Real Estate by itself. again, with the travel energy and summer energy, the nonfiction of Rachel Cusk called The Last Supper, A Summer in Italy, which is like chronicling, that's the word I'm looking for, her trip in Italy with her family. But it's like a Cusk travel journal. So for me, it was perfect. If you like her, you'd probably like it. And um, if you plan to do any Italian um, summering, then I would suggest. Okay, and the last one that I chose is A Field Guide to Getting Lost by Rebecca Solnit. So these are essays on lostness and getting lost, about wandering, about the unknown. I'll read you the back. In this distinctive and influential book, acclaimed author Rebecca Solnit gathers and sifts the stories we use to navigate our way through the world and the places we traverse, from wilderness to cities, in finding ourselves or losing ourselves. Solnit draws on emblematic moments and relationships in her own life to explore issues of uncertainty, trust, loss, memory, desire, and place. While deeply personal, her own stories link up to larger stories, from the captivity narratives of early Americans to the power of the color blue, not to mention encounters with tortoises, monks, punk rockers, mountains, deserts, and the movie Vertigo. Like, I find summer to be a moment of like reflection, more so than I get in winter time. Like, I think a lot of people like hibernate in winter and think a lot about things, their lives, reflections. And I find that summer for me, I get those feelings on a higher volume somehow. Um, and so, like, that ties itself to just like kind of pondering life and feeling kind of like lost. and and just like the act of kind of, maybe it's like about being on vacation and like sitting in a place that normally like is not your home, like you've been displaced, um and you've been kind of like tasked with like logging off, but actually like logging on to like reflecting on your circumstance and your life and where you are, and being in a new place can reflect on your feelings about the place you're normally in. And like, yeah, so kind of that wandering mind really reminded me of this book because it's all about that. So, and yeah, like lots of underlining here. Being said that I have not finished this book, because with essay collections, I don't normally finish them like cover to cover. I think this is really, really well written. The only Rebecca Solnit that I've really read, but I would be very intrigued to read more of her work, and I should finish this. So those are my books for summer. Again, I feel like I'm not the best at making book lists, as much as I feel like I recommend books to people all the time. And like, of course, I have this channel in order to talk about books that I think that you should read. I'm like a curator. I like to curate like a lot of things in my life, and including like my reading, but I find it difficult to curate book lists. So I hope that like maybe there's one book on here that you don't know anything about or that like piques your interest. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Let me know if you've got summer plans, what your summer reading is, and again, I'll plug the Substack again. My plans for the day are my partner Ohad and I need to work a little bit in the studio on a duet that we're making. We're working now with a friend of ours that we're collaborating with, and she's got like a really nice art studio, or like, yeah, art studio, I would say, in the sense that it's not really like a dance studio, but the space is really inspiring and beautiful. So we've been going there to work. So we're gonna go do that. Ohad needs to fix their bike so that we can do that. Okay. Bye. Thanks for watching. Ciao.